All right, hello and welcome to the ConverZations. Today, my name is Rachel Hagemeyer. I am the Manager of Education and Community Engagement. We are very excited to have you all here today for our ConverZations featuring Heather Cooper. We're very, very excited to have her here today. We're going to enjoy a wonderful presentation of organ music and a conversation afterwards. Like I said before, please put any questions you have in the chat. And please make sure that you stay muted throughout this presentation so we don't get any accidental background noise during the presentation. If for some reason a mic accidentally gets turned on, I have the ability to mute it, so no worries there. Feel free to have your cameras on if you would like. That is up to you, like I said before. I just want to thank our sponsor for today, Faye Heston, very gracious in giving us the funds to be able to do stuff like this. And then our next conversation is going to be January. It's a noon discussion with Allison Rysotarski, who is one of our percussionists. So that's going to be another fun performance opportunity, kind of like what we're seeing here today. So thank you all so much for joining us here today. We're going to begin the presentation with a video that Heather Cooper has previously recorded. That way we wouldn't run into any accidental technical difficulties while we were going. So I'm going to share my screen again with all of you so that you can watch this video. Like I said, feel free to put any questions you have in the chat and we will just get ourselves going. We will have a chance to talk with Ms. Cooper at the end after the presentation, so we look forward to that.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Canton Symphony and the monthly program ConverZations. I'm Heather Cooper and it is my joy and privilege to lead today's music and discussion with you. This Advent and Christmas organ music was recorded live at the newly renovated sanctuary of Christ Presbyterian Church in downtown Canton. In today's program, we will listen to the many beautiful stops and sounds of the sanctuary organ, the Gibbs Prior organ. This instrument was originally built in 1952, with subsequent additions over the years to reach its current state, a 4-manual, 72-rank instrument capable of playing the very best organ repertoire in any genre. The 4 manuals are, from top to bottom, the solo division, the swell, the great, and the choir. Then below you find the pedals. Let's listen. That triumphant fanfare you just heard was based on the beautiful Christmas tune, Angels We Have Heard on High. You heard the trumpet stop from the swell, alternating with the principal stops of the swell and choir. The principals are perhaps the most recognizable organ sound, commanding and unapologetic in their tone. The next piece is Green Sleeves, showcasing the lush string sound of the organ. There is a slight shimmer in the sound, which is intentionally created by using two different stops, one ever so slightly out of tune with the other, which creates the vibrato effect that you would expect to hear from a violin. That string sound is the foundation of this piece. Layered over that, playing the melody, are some of the colorful stops, the quinteton, the English horn, and the clarinet. When you reach the very end of this piece, there is a delightful and unexpected sound that will capture your attention in the closing moments of Green Sleeves. The next piece is the Catalonian Carol, Fum, Fum, Fum. This 16th century courtly dance briskly takes off with a left-hand ostinato played with a flute stop, just a handful of notes repeated over and over. The melody played in the right hand has a sparkle to the sound, a brightness. To understand where that sparkle comes from, let's take a moment to talk about the numbers seen on the organ stops. An 8-foot stop is concert pitch, so middle C sounds like middle C. But if you take that 8-foot pipe and cut it down to 4 feet, it produces a sound an octave higher. So now when you press down middle C, you're actually hearing the C an octave higher. Take that to a 2-foot pipe, and you're hearing an octave higher than that. So by using the 8, 4, and 2-foot pipes together, you're actually hearing 3 different octaves played at the same time. Now where the sparkle really comes in is the use of the 1 1/3 stop, the larigo. It sounds 2 octaves higher plus a 5th, so you're hearing a little bit of a G when you're playing that C. That's where the sparkle and the color comes in. So let's hear what this stop sounds like, the larigo, in this lively setting of fum, fum, fum. Interestingly, this piece is for the hands only, no feet. Since that last piece was only for the manuals, now it's time for the feet to have a turn. This is a short pedal solo of Joy to the World. Audience members usually delight to see the organist holding on to the console for dear life. In all the Christmas Eve services I have ever attended, There are two hymns that seem to be universally included: O Come All Ye Faithful and Silent Night. The first of these, known by the hymn tune name of Adeste Fidelis, became the basis for a new piece by the composer and organist Pietro Jun. Jesu Bambino maintains its place as a cherished Christmas melody, whether it is heard sung by a soloist or, in this version, as an organ solo. Christmas is a time for traditions. And in the world of classical and sacred music, there is no more time-honored Christmas tradition than listening to Handel's Messiah. This next arrangement features two pieces intertwined with one another. The chorus, "For unto us a child is born," from the Messiah, intricately woven into the hymn, "Angels from the Realms of Glory." The next piece is an arrangement of Mendelssohn's "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." This cantilena is a song with just enough different pitches from the original version that you will recognize to give the listener a few surprises along the way. We spoke a little while ago of traditions. To reach far back into the traditions of Christmas, we arrive at a monastery over 1,000 years ago. Day in and day out, at services, the monks would sing the Magnificat, Mary's song. However, in the 7 days leading up to Christmas, the monks would add special music to their singing of the Magnificat, each day with words that helped anticipate the birth of Christ. Each of these musical additions, antiphons, is a name for Christ as mentioned in Scripture. O wisdom, O Lord, O root of Jesse, O key of David, O dayspring, O King of the nations, and O Emmanuel. Collectively, these came to be known as the O antiphons. To conclude today's program, this is Andrew Carter's setting of O Come, Emmanuel.
Awesome. Thank you. So that was amazing. I was enjoying every second of it. I hope you were as well. Lots of claps. I hope you all enjoyed that performance. I know I did. I see that a couple people have asked a few questions. If you have any questions for Heather, we can start taking those now. I know, Heather, thank you so much for putting that together. Such a thing.
My pleasure. It was really nice to jump into all of that Advent and Christmas music, and I'm so appreciative of so many people for coming to this Canton Symphony event. I see many friends and also some family members in here, so thank you for joining us.
I'm getting a little from you. Yeah, we've practiced this. We know everything now. I hope that worked for everyone. I was getting good feedback. So that was our first time doing a stream like that before, and I'm so happy it worked. I was sitting here hoping it would work, and it did. So Heather, thank you so much. I know I've attempted to play organ a couple times in my life, and it's never quite gone well. Especially the fact that you have to use all your limbs at once, which I don't think I am coordinated enough to do. But let me look here. Yeah, someone said it's an aerobic exercise for sure. Tim is asking about reading the sheet music, because I know there's a lot going on one page. You have stops and chords and notes and everything. How much of it is reading and how much is just muscle memory by the time you perform, and compared to maybe when you first see a piece of music?
Sure. Well, it's certainly a combination of both of those things. If you've ever tried to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time, it's like that plus your feet thrown into the mix. So it certainly is, it keeps your mind busy. It keeps all of your limbs going. As far as the muscle memory part of it, that's certainly a big part of it, especially when it comes to the feet. Not only are you playing with the feet, but you're also balancing your torso while you're playing, and making sure that, you know, the hands are over here, but the feet are down at the bottom of the pedal board. So there's a little bit of a balancing act in there as well.
Yeah, I can see that. You have to have good core strength, I think, to play the organ. I was noticing as you were playing, there was a couple times where you would press a button and a lot of stops would move at once. Is that a programmed thing that you are capable on a modern organ? And when did stuff like that get introduced to the organ?
That's a wonderful question, Rachel. So this instrument has 72 ranks. That means 72 sets of pipes, and there's 58 stops. So these draw knobs that I can pull in or out. Now, it used to be, let's say back in the time of Bach, you would have the performer playing, and then you would have stop assistants whose job it was to pull these on or take them off at various times, depending on what was happening in the music. As you got into French music in the late 1800s, big romantic full pieces, you might have a person on either side constantly pulling stops on and off to get just the right sound that the organist is looking for. On a modern instrument like this, you have the preset pistons, so the computer memory inside the organ can be set so that with the press of a single button, multiple things change on the organ, and it eliminates the need for having 2 or 3 other people who are also here at the same time.
Wow, that's a lot. I can't imagine how much memory is involved, right, with playing the organ and remembering which ones to pull at which times and where they're located. And how often do you find yourself second guessing your stop choice?
I have to make sure that I write very detailed and careful notes. I can't write sloppily in my music. I have to be very precise about, is it the right hand that presses the button? Is it the left hand? You can even change the stops with your feet. So most of the time you're playing the pedals, but every once in a while they can actually reach up and touch a knob that changes all of the sounds as well.
Wow. That is very, very cool. Do you have a favorite stop or a favorite sound?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. On the Hark the Herald Angels Sing, I got to use the flute sound on the solo division. This is one of my favorites. It just has this real warmth to it. It's a very round sound, and some of that comes through on, you know, a Zoom or through the computer speakers, but some of it you really just have to be in the room to experience. And the wonderful thing about any instrument or voice is that the room becomes part of the instrument. And so in this newly renovated sanctuary, the organ sounds even more glorious than it did a year ago, because the space serves as the resonating chamber for all that sound.
Tim has asked, is this a rebuilt organ, a rebuilt organ, a pipe, or electronic instrument? And I think it's probably a little bit of a combination.
So this instrument was first built in 1952, and it has been added on over the years. We've added trumpet enchantments. Those are the trumpets that come directly out from the wall, and you often hear those at weddings and on Easter Sunday. This particular instrument has, as I said earlier, 72 ranks, and I looked it up. It has 4,358 pipes. So if you can imagine an instrument that really isn't here, this is the console, this is kind of the command station, but those 4,000 pipes are in the chambers, and they go from the basement of the church up to the 3rd story. The largest of those are the 16-foot pedal pipes. The only electronic sound on this instrument are the 32-foot pipes, and that's because you can imagine how much space 32-foot pipes would take up. It would probably need its own building. So everything that you're hearing is from the pipes, and then the console itself is electro-pneumatic. So the touch on the instrument is electronic, sending an electronic signal to each of those pipes. Great question.
Is this a case where you play the instrument and the sound actually is slightly delayed coming out because of how much has to get communicated?
It's a very quick response, so I do not have to anticipate a delay. If I'm watching a conductor, if I play when they cue a downbeat, the sound is pretty instantaneous.
Okay, I was going to say that's super helpful if you're having to play with a large group of people. I was going to ask that comparing playing on an organ like this to what you played here at the CSO last January, which was just electronic. How do these two instruments differ, and how is the playing of them different, I think?
Oh, that's a great question. So the instrument that was featured in the Masterworks concert last January was a digital instrument provided by Rogers Steinway. And so that instrument, the console, looked very similar to what you see here, but the sound itself was coming through speakers. I think they set up about 8 different speakers behind the orchestra, and the sound was coming from there. And of course, the great advantage to that is that organ is portable, and a concert like the Masterworks featuring the organ wouldn't have been possible to hold at Stadthal without that portable electronic instrument. The beautiful thing about a pipe organ like this, as I mentioned a minute ago, is it really does play off of the room. And so when those pipes speak, if you ever have the pleasure of going up into the pipe chambers and having somebody test out a few pipes, you can hear the immediacy of the sound. And you also get a little bit of the stereo effect. So we have 2 chambers in here, one on the east side and one on the west. And when you're here in person, you can hear certain sounds are coming from the side that the swell division is on. Certain sounds are coming from the side where the great division is. And so you get that stereo effect that is just a really special experience.
Just a couple of questions, I think, for your personal choice. I think, like pianists, you are often stuck with the instrument that you are given based on where you are traveling. If you could choose an organ, though, that exists in the world, is there an organ that you would just love to be able to play one day?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so many. every organ has its own personality. There are no two instruments exactly the same, even from the same builder, because the instrument is always built to the specifications of the church or the hall or the client. So to kind of go a slightly different direction with your question, Rachel. Many years ago when I was in college, I had the opportunity to go on a choir tour to England and France with my college choir. And through a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, we found ourselves, a small group of us, in the organ loft at Notre Dame Cathedral, listening to the organist play a service. And I can tell you, I was just sitting a few feet in front of those pipes when the 32-foot pipes came on. I literally had to cover my ears. There was so much sound. You really felt it shaking through the room. It was an amazing experience. So that's certainly one of those wonderful memories, and it served as an inspiration to continue getting to know this instrument and all the possibilities that it has.
I remember, not a pipe organ, but last January at our Masterworks concert, I was standing backstage while you were playing, and I was gleeful. I was just sitting back there, just in awe of all the sound that was happening. And that was a digital one, but it was wonderful. I can't imagine what that would have been like. Wow, that is so cool. And then just a couple more questions before we end today. Do you have a favorite Christmas hymn to play on the organ specifically?
I think I mentioned in my comments a little while ago that there are some Christmas hymns that you have to sing every year, especially on Christmas Eve. And many of us are probably accustomed to singing, "O Come All Ye Faithful." The standard arrangement for it that this church uses every year and our church choir sings on has just this one moment in the final verse with, "Yea, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning." And all of a sudden, there's this one chord that comes out on "Word of the Father." And it is the one single moment every year that makes Christmas happen for me. It's absolutely glorious.
As you said, "Word of the Father," your husband typed "Word of the Father" in the chat. So I think, and Jenny George as well. So people of your church are agreeing with you on that. That's wonderful. That is so awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us about the organ, about playing Christmas music, about being an organist before we end out this afternoon?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Rachel, and the Canton Symphony for inviting me to do this conversation today. It was really just such a joy to put together all of this music for you and play for you. I want to thank Brian Oler, our sound and video technician, who helped put the video part together and helped me make the recordings. As far as being an organist, I could sit here and talk to you about this instrument and the wonders of it and the challenges of it for quite a while. So I hope that in a post-pandemic time that I will get to see many of you and greet you here at this church and at other places around Canton and share more of this music live with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I know Heather has prepared actually a little bit of an encore for all of you. So Heather, if you want to introduce the encore, and then I will share it with everyone, and that's how we will end this afternoon.
Absolutely. So this is a carol that I know you will recognize. It's Silent Night. And I just wanted to share a quick story with you. I've got several family members who are on this call, and some of them may remember this. When I was a little girl, maybe 8 years old, my great-grandmother was still alive. She was probably 88, 89, and she was a fluent speaker of German. And so one year at Christmas, she sang Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht for us in her grandmotherly voice, and it stuck with me all these years. And so this has always been a really special carol to me. I'm sure there's family members who are nodding their heads and remembering that moment from all those years ago. So this is a beautiful setting of Silent Night.